first thing in the morning.
It was last Tuesday.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
Have you had sufficient time?
That's true, Your Honor, but it's not a, I have no questions for Mr. Santiago. It has nothing to do, and that was a completely different representation.
Okay.
The court has ruled that it was admissible for purposes of impeachment.
Impeachment, as far as the going into it, it's not going to be. If you have no questions of him, then that solves all the issues.
I have no questions. I never intended to ask any questions.
Okay.
The representation happened, I believe, back in 2009. And that's all I can say about it.
Okay.
So, in all candor with the court, I just wanted the court to know.
Are you ready to proceed? Where's Miss Johnson?
We can proceed.
Without the district attorney?
Assistant District Attorney is here. The state is represented. We're ready to proceed. District Attorney will be here momentarily.
Okay.
We're proceeding outside the presence of the, in the presence of the chair. Very well.
All rise for the jury.
All rise for the jury.
Huh? Don't you forget. That's right.
Be seated, please.
Mr. Santiago, do you recall whether you have any pending criminal charges against you at this time?
Yes.
What is the pending charge?
Aggravated stalking.
That charge is being prosecuted by the district attorney's office?
No.
In what county were you arrested for aggravated stalking?
Glenn County.
County. Very well. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
I have no questions for the witness.
All right. Mr. Conley?
Mr. Santiago, you are the father of Antonio Santiago, correct?
Yes.
He was your son?
Yes.
I want to show you what I've marked, has been admitted into evidence already, as State's Exhibits number 165 and 166. Are these pictures of your boy?
Yeah.
They are?
Yes.
Relevance? Is there an issue in this case, whether at this late date, whether that's his child?
I have him on cross-examination.
Overruled.
How old was Antonio in those pictures?
He was 13 months.
And who's Antonio's mother, Sherry West?
Yes.
I want to take you back to March 21, 2013, okay?
Yes.
And I want to walk you through that day. Remember what day of the week that was? Was it a Thursday?
It was a Thursday.
All right, let's start in the morning. Where were you living at the time?
At 911 Union Street, across the street.
From where Sherry was living with Antonio?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do that morning? Did you wake up? What time did you wake up that morning?
I always wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I start taking my shower about 5. Then by 6, I lay out my clothes on the bed.
Okay.
And that day I had a breakfast with the neighbors downstairs with Mr. William and Miss Karen, because they invited me for a breakfast, and I went down there about 7 o'clock.
Okay. How long did the breakfast last?
About almost 2 hours, with the cooking and the fellowshipping and all that.
Okay. And tell the jury what happened next.
Mr. William had to go to work, and
Mr. William, is that what you called him?
I always call him Mr. William.
Okay. He had to go to work?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Objection, you're set.
He didn't tell him anything. He said Mr. William had to go to work, Your Honor.
Your Honor, you
If
keep
the officer
your-
instruct the witness, don't tell us what anything Mr. Williams said, okay? Just answer the questions, okay?
Then what happened?
We went to, we got in the car,
Who got in the car?
me, Mr. William, and Miss Karen.
Okay, and you got into what kind of car?
It was a Ford Taurus Burgundy, 2003.
Is it like a SUV or
It's a 4-door,
four-door vehicle?
yes.
Okay. And who was in the car?
Miss Karen, Mr. William, and it was me.
Okay, and where did you go?
We went to take Mr. William to work. He was driving. He was going to TJ Maxx.
Go ahead.
And we went to TJ Maxx. Approximately, we got there, he was running late, and we got there about 9:25.
The TJ Maxx.
Yes.
Okay, and then what happened?
And then Miss Karen said her goodbyes to Mr. Williams. Then a phone call came, and she was sitting in the car.
Did you drop Mr. William off
Yes.
at TJ Maxx?
Yes, yes.
Okay, who was driving after he got out of the car?
Oh, and then Miss Karen was sitting on the passenger side. She walked over to the driver's seat, and she was going to start driving.
Okay, then what happened?
She got a phone call right there in the parking spot, and it was one of her employees. And she answered the phone. She says, "Louis, you mind waiting for a few minutes here?" And
He said that to you?
yes,
Okay.
because she kind of, I'm always antsy to go and do things, So she said, "Well, let me get this phone call because it's one of the girls from work, and then we'll take off." And it took about 5 minutes, but then she pulled out, went out to the intersection where the Burger King and the Home Depot, that street there, to make the left to go towards Walmart. And she was still on the phone with that person. And
Talking and driving, and you were in the passenger seat.
yes.
Objection, leading.
I have him on cross-examination. Under the rules, I can ask leading questions on cross and ought not to ask anything but leading questions on cross.
Your Honor, given the pending charges, the court has wide discretion in these matters. Given the pending charges and the interest here, it's inappropriate for leading questions to this witness.
Overruled.
Then what happened?
Then we arrived to Walmart, and she still was on the phone. She says, let's wait. She parked into the parking spot, stayed there to about almost a quarter till. And
And where were you?
I'm still sitting on the passenger seat, waiting for her to finish.
About, was it what, quarter to 10 about,
Yeah.
approximately? All right. Then what happened?
Then we walked into Walmart. She grabbed a shopping cart, and she goes, here, I'll push the shopping cart. So she said, let's start from aisle to aisle. And I says, okay. And we started. And then all of a sudden, she got a phone call from one of our neighbors.
On her cell phone?
On her cell phone.
Okay.
And she indicated that there was something happened on the block of London and Ellis, that a young baby was shot.
He told you that?
Well, the neighbor across the hall from us told, Miss Karen,
Okay.
and said it looks like Miss Sherry too, but I don't know. She goes, oh, Nana, quit playing around. And
You heard, that's what you heard in your presence?
right, because I was still grabbing stuff off the shelf, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's not, that's not happening,
Okay.
And so she hung up, and as we were going from aisle to aisle, we finally got to the checkout counter, and about,
Here, the checkout counter?
yes, and about 10:20, I got a phone call, and it was a detective, and he says, is this Mr. Santiago? I says, yeah. And he says, there was a
Sustain the objection.
tragic.
Just,
Don't say what the officer said to you.
before you left, let's go back to the checkout at the Walmart, okay?
Yes,
You were at the checkout at the Walmart with Miss Karen, correct?
yes.
And then did she pay for whatever she had and then you all were walking out?
No,
Tell me what happened
a phone call
to her.
to me.
Now, it was on your cell phone?
Now it's on my cell phone,
Okay.
and I picked up, and it was Brunswick Police Department.
Okay. And what did you do next?
He told me he
What he's told you.
Not what
He
he told you.
instructed
Tell
me.
us what you did.
Just
Oh.
tell us what you did after you got this phone call.
I ran, left everything on the checkout counter.
What were you buying, by the way?
Antonio, getting all his stuff,
Stuff like what?
our juices and his little snacks and stuff like that, that usually we have for him.
You're buying stuff for the baby?
Yeah.
Okay. Then you get the phone call.
And then we got the call, and we left the stuff there. I didn't mean to, but I ran out. We ran out to the car. I says, we need to go down to the emergency room.
To the where?
Emergency room.
Okay.
And so Miss Karen was driving. We got in the car, and we got to the emergency room.
Okay, then what happened?
We got there, and when I walked in the room, Sherry was holding on to the rails and was crying out, saying, they shot our baby, they shot our baby. And I says, relax. I walked over to her, and I held her hand and stuff like that. I said, relax, you know what I mean? And where is he? Where's the baby? You know what I mean? They said, well, the GBI's got them. He's not around. And she was explaining what happened and everything.
How long were you at the hospital?
We were there for about an hour and a half, I think. It was so much commotion. It was just probably about that long or so.
When did you see the baby?
I got to see him at the funeral. I went down there me and my neighbor went down there, and they had him in the back, and they brought him out, and I zippered down the bag, and I was looking at him, and I checked the back of his skull and everything, and I saw and I cut a piece of lot off his hair, and I put it in the envelope, and then And then I just walked outside with Mr. Wally. And then I think a couple of days after that, we went and seen him get put in the oven, the cremation. And then,
Do you have the ashes?
yes, it's in my bedroom.
Now, after you saw Sherry at the hospital, leave the hospital at some point in time?
No,
The hospital?
all that time. I just walked, well, I did walk out to see Miss Karen and tell her, I'm going to be here for a while. You can go home. I'm going to get, escorted by the detectives when we're done here, and I'm going to stay with Sherry tonight.
And did you get back, did you ultimately go back to her house eventually?
Yes.
Get back just a little bit from that microphone.
The
There,
two,
we can
I'm
hear you.
sorry, the two detectives.
Okay. Did you stay with Sherry that night?
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna, I want to show you what I have marked as States Exhibits 169 and 170. To identify, that is, look at each one and tell the court and the jury what 169 and 170 are.
This one here is me and Miss Karen.
Give us a number.
169.
Okay, and what is 169?
We're,
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't think you were going to ask any questions because of what you had said.
Well, I still want to see the exhibits, Mr. Collins.
No? Tell the court and jury what Exhibit 169 is.
169 is when we arrived to Walmart. That's
Who's we?
me and Miss Karen.
Arriving at Walmart?
Yes.
Okay. And what time was that? What day was that?
That was March 21st, and that was about
Your Honor, we have
9:20.
objected to the authenticity. We object, Your Honor, with respect to the authenticity of the documents. Your Honor, specifically with respect to the timestamps that are set forth within them. We'd ask that the state lay a proper foundation before using photos, still photos from videos which have not been properly authenticated.
The videos and evidence, Your Honor, it's on the terabyte of entered to stage 52. There was no objection at the time we entered that to any of the videos with the exception of the post office and the Roswell video.
These have not been tendered into evidence.
And I haven't finished my
Okay, well,
authentication.
I'll let you see if you
I know
can.
how to introduce a picture and evidence if given enough time to do so.
Your Honor, and I object to the constant commentary during the examination of witnesses. It's unprofessional and inappropriate. We'd ask the court to admonish Mr. Economo to stop.
No more comment, just introduce your
All
photographs.
right, take a look at 169, please.
That's me and Miss Karen.
Okay, don't show it to the jury. Okay, just see whether or not you answered his questions.
Where are you going?
Inside Walmart.
And what time and day is it?
That's March 21st. It was 9:45.
Does 169 truly and accurately represent you and Miss Karen going into Walmart on the day and at the time that you mentioned?
Yes.
Okay. Now I want you to look at State's Exhibit 170 and tell us what 170 is.
That's me and Karen leaving Walmart.
Okay.
And that was March 21st. And that was about 10:30, something about 10:25.
And does that photograph, State's Exhibit 170, truly and accurately represent you and Miss Karen leaving Walmart at the day and at the time that you have testified to?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. One, I tender these stills.
Any objection?
Or objections?
All right, admitted over objection.
Mr. Santiago, I believe Mr. DeConomo just went through with you everything you did on the day in question before going to the hospital and while you were at the hospital?
Yes.
But you left some key things out, didn't you?
Don't know.
Well, you got up in the morning at 911 Union Street, and you had breakfast with this Karen person and her significant other,
Yes.
and then you got in the car and you went to TJ Maxx.
Yes.
You went from TJ Maxx to Walmart.
Yes.
Now, let me see if you can, for the benefit of the, one moment, John. Sir, what route did you take to the TJ Maxx? You went out from 911 Union Street, you got into the car. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No, Kate say, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
And we went straight from 911 Union Street to TJ Maxx. Yes?
Yes.
All right. Do we make any stops along the way?
No.
All right. So which direction did you turn the car to get from Union Street to TJ Maxx? How did you go?
I wasn't driving.
Well, sir, I'm not asking you whether you were driving. At this time, I approach the witness, and I'm going to make reference to State's Exhibit 116.
Shirley.
Now, you previously testified that this gentleman, the Karen woman's significant other, that he was late for work? Yes?
Just about, yeah. He almost.
So you were all rushing to get to TJ Maxx so he wouldn't be late for work.
Right.
Now, can you show me your residence? Would your residence be at the yellow push pin? Is that where 911 Union Street, across the street? Is that 911 Union Street?
Yeah.
All right. And for reference purposes, the post office, that the federal post office, is that not at the location of the blue push pin on Gloucester Street at the intersection of Gloucester and Ellis?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how did y'all make it to TJ Maxx?
Took 4th Street all the way to Lanier. To Lanier, he made a right where the little park is, onto 17, all the way down to 17, onto the Golden Isles, and made a left at the Home Depot. That's the quickest way he was able to get to work without being really, really late.
So you didn't drive up Union Street?
No, you had a lot of traffic.
You didn't drive up Ellis Street?
No.
Okay. Instead of going up this way, you came across, what did you say, 4th Avenue?
4th Avenue.
Where's 4th Avenue in relationship to the Union Street address?
Just take down Union Street all the way down to 4th, and you make a left on 4th Avenue.
Okay.
Then you go straight all the way up to Lanier.
Well, let's be clear. The TJ Maxx store, is that not located off of the Golden Isles Parkway, also known as Spur 25?
Yes.
And you see on this map, this State Exhibit 116, do you see the Golden Isles Parkway?
Yeah.
All right. And the Golden Isles Parkway, that intersects with Interstate 95 to the northwest, going up that road. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. And do you see Cypress Mill Road? Do you see the intersection between the Spur and Cypress Mill Road on the map? On States 116? You see that intersection, don't you?
Yes.
All right. Now, the TJ Maxx is located at the shopping center at the next intersection up the spur, just out off the map. Am I correct?
I guess.
Well, how long have you lived in Brunswick, sir?
13 years.
All right, you know where the TJ Maxx is.
Yeah, but I told you that's the way we went.
Okay.
No other way.
So your testimony is that y'all drove south on Union Street away from the TJ Maxx to catch 4th Street.
Yes.
And then you took 4th Street across, and that would be somewhere just below the bottom line of this map?
Yeah, I wasn't driving. That's the way he likes to go all the time.
But he went up this way on US 17, yes?
Yeah, I done told you.
4-lane highway, divided access at some points,
Mm-hmm.
up to the connector here.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Drove north.
Right.
And then just off of that map, there's another intersection, and that's where the TJ Maxx is located.
Yeah, with the Golden Corral.
All right. And that shopping center is located across from a car dealership, an alley dealership, is it not?
Yeah.
An alley Honda.
Mm-hmm.
No, not trying to advertise for anybody, don't stop. And next to the alley Honda, there's a Wendy's.
Yes.
And on the other side of the Wendy's is the Walmart.
Yes.
And that's the way you went in. You took this up to the spur, and then you turned onto that road and into the Walmart.
That's when we came out of TJ Maxx. We came out of the park where the little mall strip is, and we made the left. Yeah.
So we're talking about a 5 or 10 minute drive. Would you or would you not agree that it's approximately a 5 to 10 minute drive the way you described?
Your Honor, again, I object. He has him on, Mr. Goff has the witness on redirect examination, okay? That still does not permit the use of leading questions, and I object.
Try
I'll
not to
rephrase.
lead. I will give you some latitude because of the late hour. Please, try not to lead.
Sir, how long did it take to get from 911 Union Street to TJ Maxx?
20 minutes. We
20
left.
whole minutes?
We left about 9:10 from the house and got there about 9:25. Right on time, about 5 minutes before he was almost being late there.
So you left at 9:10. You left the house at 9:10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you're sure about that? Could you even state that?
Yes.
Okay. You left 911 Union Street at 9:10 on the morning of the shooting.
Yes.
Directing your attention to State's Exhibit 53. Sir, if you're at 911 Union Street at 9:10 in the morning, on the morning that your son died, you were literally within half a block of the shooting at the time your son was shot.
Your Honor, objection. First of all, it's not a question. He testified just now. And there again, it's leading. Were you or were you not would be the correct question, and I object on grounds
Sustained.
of argumentative and leading.
Thank you, Mr. Conlow. Were you or
You're
were
welcome.
you not? Were you or were you not within a half block of the intersection of London and Union where your son was shot when he was shot?
Yeah, but I live across the street, of course.
So you were across the street from the shooting when it took place, by your own testimony.
No, the shooting didn't happen there.
The shooting happened at the corner of London and Ellis Street, did it not?
Right.
And that's a half block away from 911 Union Street.
Yeah.
And you said you were at 911 Union Street at 9:10.
About that time.
That puts you within a half block of the shooting when it took place, doesn't it? I'm sorry, rephrase. Could you tell me whether or not that puts you within a half block of the shooting at the time the shooting took place?
Yeah, but I would have heard something or something would have happened. I mean, I got a phone call at Walmart, so
So why are we going through all this testimony about you going to Walmart when you acknowledge that you were half a block away?
Your Honor, objection argumentative. Why are we going through this testimony? That's argument. Thank you, Your Honor.
Now, I believe I started out asking you if you left something out in this discussion. Do you remember now anything that you might have left out? Anything important?
no.
You're sure?
Yeah.
When did you first see Sherry West on the day your son was shot?
In the hospital.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah.
Couldn't be mistaken.
Yeah, I seen her in the hospital.
What were you doing at Walmart? What did you say you were doing at Walmart?
I was shopping for my son.
You were buying things for your son. Were you buying your son stamps?
No.
I'll rephrase. Do you remember whether you met up with Sherry West on the morning that your son was shot to review with her what baby Antonio needed?
No, sir.
You never. Do you recall whether you saw Sherry West on the morning your son was shot?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Santiago. I have no further questions.
Anything further? All right. No question? All right. You may step down. Call your next witness.
Mike Culpepper.
Mr. Goff and Ms. Johnson, the first bench,
Mr. Culver, don't approach it. Mr. Culpepper, if you would please stand, raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the evidence you shall give the court and the jury on the issue now pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Dr. Culpepper, could you state your name and spell your first and your last name for the court reporter, please?
Wright Culpepper, WRIGHTCULPEPPER. I'm a United Methodist minister. One of my responsibilities is to serve as chaplain at the Brunswick campus of Southeast Georgia Health System.
It is? Yeah, closer. There you go.
Were you working as a minister at that hospital on March 21st, 2013?
Yes, I was.
Do you remember coming into contact with a man named Louis Santiago on that day?
Yes, I do.
How did you come into contact with him?
I was in the meeting that morning, received a call from Jen Krause, who was the head nurse in the ER that day. She informed me that there had been a child that had been shot and asked that I come in, which would have been a normal procedure for us. And I came to the hospital. Ms. West was already in the treatment room, and there were some officers out in the hall. I talked with them a little bit. I heard from them that Mr. Santiago was on the way to the hospital, and then I went into the treatment room with Ms. West.
Did you come into contact with Mr. Santiago at the hospital?
Yes, I did. I was in the room with Ms. West. There was a police chaplain in the room at the same time, Randy Lamb. He and I were with Ms. West on either side of her, and then Mr. Santiago entered into the room. Mr. Lamb left, and so it would have been Ms. West and Mr. Santiago and I.
Before Mr. Santiago came into the room, was Ms. West saying anything?
She was very emotional and saying a lot of things, yes, sir.
Did she say anything about who attacked her son or who attacked her?
I'm going to object to the hearsay at this point.
Your Honor, it would not be hearsay. It would go as a prior inconsistent statement of Ms. West, and as a result would be an exception to the hearsay rule. Ms. West has already testified.
Overruled.
Would you like me to restate the question, Dr. Culpepper?
Please.
Before Mr. Santiago entered the room, did Ms. West say anything about the people who attacked her or her son that day?
I do not recall her mentioning who may have attacked her.
After Mr. Santiago came into the room, did Mr. Santiago say anything to Ms. West in your presence?
Objection to the hearsay.
It would be, that's, Mr. Santiago just testified. It would also go as a prior inconsistent statement because Mr. Santiago said certain things about what he said to Ms. West, and I expect Dr. Culpepper's answer to be different upon Mr. Santiago's examination by Mr. Goff.
Well, shouldn't we have confronted the witness with these statements when we had him on the stand?
Mr. Santiago was confronted with his statements. He denied knowledge of any other statements when Mr. Goff asked him the questions. As a result, it would come in as a prior inconsistent statement.
I don't recall, was the evidence will recall, but I mean, the jury will recall, he asked, there was a question that he was asked whether he made a statement to
Ms. West. And I'm asking Dr. Culpepper if he overheard Mr. Santiago say anything to Ms. West.
All right. Overrule the objection.
I did.
What did Mr. Santiago say?
He said, why didn't you give them what they asked for?
When Mr. Santiago said that, could you describe his demeanor at that time?
He was unemotional.
The way that Mr. Santiago and Ms. West interacted, how would you describe that, if you could describe that for the jury?
There was very little emotion between the two of them. She was very emotional. He was not emotional. I did not think that to be odd, but what I did find odd was that there didn't seem to be any warmth or compassion being exchanged between the two.
Did you see Mr. Santiago ever have any physical contact with Ms. West?
I did not.
Were you present in the room when Mr. Santiago entered the room?
I was.
When you exited the room, well, do you know when you exited the room, did Mr. Santiago exit with you, or did he exit at some other time, or do you not know when Mr. Santiago exited the room?
We exited at the same time.
Do you remember giving a statement to someone with the district attorney's office about this case? You remember talking to someone with the district attorney's office at any time? Your Honor,
Are we now trying to impeach the minister, Your Honor? Can we just ask him some open questions and not leading questions and not trying to impeach the witness 2 minutes after he gets on the stand?
Your Honor, I believe asking a witness if he had a conversation with someone, did you have a conversation with someone is not leading. It doesn't suggest an answer.
Overruled.
I spoke with that office on Friday, 2 Fridays ago.
Do you remember why you spoke to that person?
I called that office.
Why did you decide to call the district attorney's office?
On that particular day, I read an article in the paper concerning the case, and it referred to Mr. Santiago in the room with Ms. West, and I felt like I needed to speak to that.
Before you spoke to the district attorney's office, did you speak to anyone else about this case?
That morning I did. Reading that and knowing what I had experienced, I called the head of security at the hospital to discuss that day with him briefly to see if there was anything that may have been on film in the hall. And also I spoke with the chief counsel for the hospital, the vice president for...
Have you ever discussed anything about this case with the news media or a media outlet or cable TV?
No, no.
All the questions I have for Dr. Culpepper, Jay.
No questions at this time, Madam President.
I don't have any questions, Your Honor.
Your Honor, Dr. Culpepper may be excused unless they have any questions.
Thank you.
Call your next witness.
Your Honor, could we approach sidebar?
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this is matters now I need to take up outside your presence, so if you would go to the jury.